Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today I'm looking at some Dynasty sells. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, the first player, James Cook. So, there was some internet news we saw about Cook selling his house and the Bills have broken off contract extension talks. I did say back on the channel in February that Cook and the Browns were going to be in a contract stalemate. My literal takeaway was, sell James Cook before the contract becomes an issue. Oh, interesting. Now we're here. I don't want to say that Cook is going to sit out games or anything like that. Players almost never do that. But Cook now comes with even more risk. So let's look back at Cook's 2024. 16 games, 207 carries, 1,009 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4.9 yards carry, and 32 catches, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was great, but it all came from touchdowns. 18 of them. He wasn't a high volume running back. He's not getting paid $15 million a year like he wants. Cook averaged 16.7 fantasy points a game, 11th among running backs. So even with all those touchdowns, he still wasn't a league winner. You would think a running back who scores 18 total touchdowns would be a top 10 fantasy running back in points per game. He was not. So it's kind of a tough spot to like. Now, there are a lot of problems with Cook. The big problem, touchdown regression. In 33 games in 2022 and 2023, he totaled 11 touchdowns. Josh Allen was still the quarterback. The offense was still really good. So do we think that he's going to repeat 18 touchdowns in 16 games? Very, very unlikely, right? That is almost impossible, and that's not going to happen again. Even in 2023, he had more carries, and more catches than 2024. He still had 6 touchdowns. So he had 3 times as many touchdowns in 2024 on less touches. That's not going to happen again, right? That's not realistic. The Bills are not going to pay Cook $15 million, period. That's not going to happen. I'm telling you that right now. So what is this going to result in? Well, the Bills have 6 picks between the 407 and the 601 in this year's NFL draft. I'm not saying they're going to for sure draft a running back. I think they will. If they do, though, it's going to be a superior prospect to Ray Davis. Ray Davis, there was some delusional Dynasty analysts who like Ray Davis. Ray Davis was a horrible prospect. Absolutely horrible. If they draft a running back in this year's class, it will be a better prospect than Ray Davis was. If they draft someone in the 4th this year, it'll be better than Ray Davis was last year by a lot. And if they do, it gives them leverage in negotiations with Cook, who could walk after the 2025 season. And also, like, Ray Davis didn't show much. Ty Johnson, I don't know. I mean, they could use another back in the backfield anyway. You can always use running back depth, especially if you're going to run as much as the Bills do. Now, how to sell James Cook? Well, you can explore some ideas. So the first one I saw, James Cook for 106. I'd absolutely do that. I'd take the, value of the 106. Maybe I could sell it later, but it's easily the 106. The second, James Cook, Cole Kmet, and 309 for Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is a strong buy for me. I would easily take Garrett Wilson here. It's a pretty easy one to go to Garrett Wilson. And then the last one, probably the most fair, James Cook for Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith's a little bit older than James Cook, but he's a wide receiver who ages better. I think if I had to look at the future dynasty value of the 2 players, I'd much rather have Devonta Smith than James Cook. So I'd like to explore these options to sell Cook before, the value decreases any more than it already has. So next up, Geno Smith. And I mentioned in my video immediately after Smith was traded to the Raiders that I felt like he was kind of a hold at that moment because the contract extension that was coming, and I told you it was coming, hadn't happened yet, which would increase his value. Well, now the extension's here, which means it's time to explore the other side, selling Smith. So he signed a 2-year, $75 million extension worth up to $85.5 million with $66.5 million guaranteed. It's on top of the last year of his current deal, which takes the contract through 2027. I've seen some varying reports, but mostly the guarantees are mostly through 2026. 2027 is a full team option, essentially. So it's kind of a soft 2-year commitment. If it's a disaster, they could move on after 1 year, but most likely a 2-year commitment. So last year, Smith was good. 70.4% completion, 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 7.5 yards per attempt, 254.1 passing yards a game. By some standards, it was his best year in Seattle. Highest completion percentage, tied for the highest yards per attempt, highest passing yards a game. The problem was for fantasy, he did not deliver the touchdowns. 3.6% touchdown rate. Didn't deliver, but we know touchdown rate is mostly random and it does regress. So he averaged 15.6 fantasy points a game, 16th among quarterbacks, right in the middle. Tied with Jordan Love. Just that's where he was. Decent. Nothing special, but decent. Now, why is Geno Smith a dynasty sell? Well, of course, we only care about him in Superflex. In 1 QB, he doesn't have value. But in Superflex, I think there are some things. So Smith is sneakily already 34. I think he's older than people think. He turns 35 in October. Now, some quarterbacks, yes, they play well until they're 40. Not all of them. I mean, Russell Wilson, look, he declined 34, 35, big decline. And Wilson was a lot better than Smith at his peak, right? So it's possible that Smith gives you a few more years, but it's possible he doesn't. We don't know. Smith's contract will also not prevent the Raiders from looking for a long-term quarterback. We saw this with Kirk Cousins. I'd be shocked if the Raiders took a quarterback at 6. They just don't seem interested, but they could easily take a successor on day 2. And right now, I think people are thinking Smith is locked in for years, and I'm not sure that that's really the case at all. I think he's locked to start this year, but that's it. Now, it's hard to sell Geno Smith. Obviously, it's also hard to find trade data from the last day, but I have seen versions of this selling Geno Smith for a 26 first and a 12-team Superflex, which is the format we're focusing on. You might have to add a little bit to Smith, but I'd consider it. And then more likely, if you really want to move on from Smith, take the 26-second and 27-second and just move on. He's not ever going to be worth more than that, right? I mean, he's not going to gain value. So if you're kind of been holding on to Smith, maybe you're rebuilding or retooling or whatever, this is probably the most Smith is going to be worth ever again. So this is your opportunity to move on. He's not a must sell, but just I wanted to explore the option of selling Geno Smith, because if you're going to do it, now is the time to do it. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. Right now, I'm offering a 50% discount at all tiers using the code TylerYT. You can get my rankings, access to Discord, all my write-ups, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask and advance questions for the YouTube videos. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with that discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're on the homepage under Patreon promos. And like I said, I'm offering this 50% discount. And really, I'm hoping to see more people join the Patreon. You know, there's a lot of people say, well, why won't you do this video? Why this video you should do? Or maybe this content topic. There's not going to be, I'm just telling you this now. There's not going to be materially different content on the YouTube channel ever. It's not coming. If there's going to be new content different from what I'm doing on the YouTube regularly, that's going to be behind the Patreon paywall. This offseason, it's mainly been the write-ups have been the new content, new ways to use the Discord. But yes, new content, new ideas, or anything I don't cover on here will be covered on the Patreon exclusively. It will not come to the YouTube. It will not come to Twitter. So if you're looking for more from me and you like what I'm doing, signing up for the Patreon, patreon.com/fantasy advice will be the only way to get that. And, you know, I do take a long time with these ad reads, discussions of the Patreon. And the reason I do that is because realistically, the YouTube exists because the Patreon wills it to do so. The YouTube would not exist on its own. If the Patreon didn't exist, the YouTube would not exist as well. It is a dependent content item. You know, it wouldn't exist by itself. So if you want the YouTube to continue as is, I would love it if you supported the Patreon. It really means a lot. And with that said, we'll move into my next player. So my next player, Breece Hall, who's again kind of in the news. And, you know, Hall's kind of faded away a little. And now Aaron Glenn, head coach of the Jets, is claiming that there's a three-headed monster in the backfield. I talked a little bit about this on the last Stashes video, which you should also go watch, regarding Isaiah Davis. But it also relates to Breece Hall. So last year, Hall in 16 games, 209 carries, 876 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4.2 yards a carry, and 57 catches, 483 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The receiving usage kept him afloat. Just didn't show that much, though, in efficiency or rushing volume. He averaged 15.1 PPR points a game, 17th among running backs. Now, why do I have Breece Hall as a dynasty sell? So, Breece Hall had that injury in 2022, and he's never looked the same. In 2023, he got there on volume. The volume was there, high receiving volume. But we didn't have the magic of 2022 pre-injury Hall. He wasn't the same player. He continued not to look like the same player even in year 2 after the ACL tear. And we learned this from Javonte Williams. It might not come back in year 1, but if it doesn't come back in year 2 after the injury, it's not coming back. With Dalvin Cook, big injury in 2015. 2016, he was bad. 2017, it came back to being elite. So if it doesn't come back in the second year, it's not coming back. So it's not coming back with Breece Hall. We're not going back to the 2022 version. That's not going to happen. So if that's not going to happen, then we have to kind of evaluate what Hall is now, not what Hall was. Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis will both cut into his workload. We know that. We've talked about that. I think it's more of a debate of which one of them is more interesting to me. I prefer Allen, but at cost, I probably prefer Davis because he's cost nothing, whereas Allen is a little overpriced for me. But that's not really the point of this segment. And then lastly, the Jets have basically ruled out extending Hall early. They're not going to do it. I don't even think Hall is even asking for it. I think he knows it's not happening. They won't be paying him. Hall has no leverage because the Jets have 2 backup running backs who already showed they could, at least hold down the role. The Jets are not looking to win anything in 2025. So Hall has 0 leverage. He's not getting $15 million a year. He's going to play out the year, and then we're going to see. We're going to see. I think it's going to end with Hall walking in free agency, but he's not getting an early extension. That much I can tell you. The Jets have said, we are not extending him, basically. Now, in terms of selling Breece Hall, I still think there are people who hold on to the old Breece Hall vision of him as an elite asset, which he is not. Garrett Wilson's a common buy in these. Breece Hall and 208 for Garrett Wilson. I'd do that. Breece Hall for 102. That's insane to me. I would easily take the 102. And then Breece Hall for 226 firsts. It goes to show you how weak this class is that I probably prefer 226 firsts over the 102. The only player in this class I think that's worth more than 2 future firsts is Ashton Jitney. So that's kind of a side topic, but I'd also take the 226 firsts for Breece Hall easily without a second thought. Trade. Joe Milton was traded to the Cowboys. They traded the 171st over 170. I don't know what I was writing here. 171 for Milton, 217. So a 5th for Milton and a 7th. Not much of a return for the Patriots considering they drafted Milton in the 6th round. And for me, there's not much to this. In Superflex, I saw people saying Milton is going to take the starting job from Dak Prescott. No, he's not. People wanting to buy Milton for 2nd, please sell him for a 2nd. I'd take any 3rd. We're not interested in these permanent backups. So if you can get any return for Milton, I'd absolutely do it. But there's nothing else to say about Joe Milton. And then Trey McBride signed a contract extension with the Cardinals. 4 years, $76 million with $43 million in guarantees. It's a whopping deal. I mean, it's a big contract, $19 million a year, biggest tight end contract ever, and it's well-deserved. For me, McBride, solidly the Dynasty tight end 2. Brock Bowers, number 1. Trey McBride, number 2. And, everyone else kind of way, way lower. But nothing much to do with that. Just good for Trey McBride. And that's kind of it. So I've got a bunch of Patreon questions, and then we'll wrap up the show. So first one, I think this is interesting. How do you balance drafting the best player available with league format? Pretty simple, right? I mean, my rankings may change based on the league format. So this is one of the things. Like, if you buy the rankings versus being in the Discord versus being in the DM tiers, my rankings are for, I can't make rankings for every format. So they're for 12 team, 1 QB, 12 team Superflex. If you're in a different league format, well, the rankings can help, but you got to ask me how I would adjust based to the league format. So I'm always going to, if I'm in a startup, I'm going to make my own kind of chart, or at least mentally, based on that league format. So I'm always going to draft for value. That value might change based on the league format, but I'm always drafting for value. So the league format just changes what I think the value is, not my strategy of drafting for value. I think that makes sense. Hopefully. With so many running backs in this class, let's say 3 to 4 running backs go around the same spot, early to mid-second, all good landing spots. What are defining features that would separate them? Well, a couple things. One, I think that Ashton Genty is obviously a cut above, and I think Amari and Hampton is a good, clear second. But if we're separating Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, and Caleb Johnson, I think that, those three, we'll see. I mean, the landing spot could matter because running back careers are so short. I will say if someone else moves up into that tier, who I don't think is nearly as good, that would be a separation, a talent separation, that I have those three way ahead. In terms of that, though, other than that, yeah, I mean, landing spot, exact draft capital matters, and, how I had them ranked previously. But again, the rankings are on the Patreon, so I think I already said enough about the rookies for this question. But yeah, I suggest joining the Patreon. Just exactly where I have all the running backs ranked, and that'll tell you how I would plan to separate them. I also talk about this type of stuff in the Discord. Oh, it's a good question. More general, I like this. How do you weigh valuing draft capital over landing spot for rookie drafts? Does it vary by position? Yes, it varies by position. Draft capital is the single most predictive factor of success for all positions, for all of them. Versus landing spot. Landing spot, I've learned not really to care about. For landing spot, I would say it's not super important. I mean, for quarterback, it's really not important because so much changes in the surroundings. For running back, it can be if you get stuck. Like Zach Charbonnet was kind of ruined by getting stuck because careers are so short. For wide receiver, I don't care about landing spot at all. Literally at all. Barely matters. And for tight end, it matters a little bit, but more based on the scheme than based on the offensive environment. Because we know a lot of tight end usage is a choice. But I think it's kind of like a little bit of a thought of how I see it. But draft capital is always more important than landing spot. 100%. Between those two factors, I will say landing spot is just a tiny part of my eval. What are your thoughts on quarterback hoarding in smaller leagues? Sorry. Is 3 quarterback ones too many? Should you look for value at other positions? I wouldn't say so. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. Would I trade up to get a bunch of high-end quarterbacks? Probably not. But if that's how the draft board fell, no, I don't mind it. I don't really have a thought on this. There does come a point. I mean, do I want to draft a 7th quarterback in a startup? Probably not, because that shows that the league doesn't value them at all. And then I might get stuck with those players. But I don't really think about this. If I'm being really honest, it's not really something that comes into my head. I just draft for value to a point. But exactly where that point is, that depends on exactly how far the value is falling. That's not a one-size-fits-all answer. And again, that's something cover well on the Patreon, going through your individual leagues. But yeah, league dependent and draft dependent would be my answer mostly to that. Well, if you liked the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, is available on the Patreon. Dynasty content year-round. Pre-draft rookie content will only be on the Patreon. 50% discount at all tiers using the code TylerYT. Every sign-up helps support my independent content. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all